Welcome, wrestling fans. Welcome to Curtain Jerkin. As always, I'm your host, Jacob Grondy, reporting for the Main Event Marks YouTube channel and Near Falls Media. It's been a jam-packed few days of wrestling here, and it's going to be even more jam-packed in the next few hours. I mean, I'm recording this at 6:30 on Tuesday, so we have NXT coming up, and then we got New Japan in the morning, and then we got AEW at night. So it's going to get crazier in the coming weeks, but we did have a crazy weekend of pro wrestling. Matt Riddle failed 2 drug tests, and that's why he was actually sent home. That's honestly why Riddle and Rollins was taken off of SummerSlam, which, got a lot of criticism at the time, including me, criticized that, and it was put on Clash at the Castle. And that's why he was taken off of TV a week or two ago. Hopefully he gets better. I know he's got a lot of personal issues and, with his family and everything like that. But this is a company that rode with him through a lot of allegations and turmoil. So I think he's entered himself into rehab, and I think he's going to get himself better and come back to the company that kind of rode with him through thick and thin. Reports are that Regal is back in the WWE. PW Insider reported that Regal January 1st will take the new position of vice president in the WWE. This is good from what EC3 was saying, that he wasn't happy in AEW and people were not really taking advantage of his knowledge. Where now, if this is true, you'd be very foolish to ignore his knowledge because he's like the vice president of the company you work for. It does not feel right, to not have Hunter in charge now and to not have Regal there helping him. He's got HBK in NXT, he's got Road Dogg, and now Regal is back. I feel like Triple H regime is at full strength here. But he did put out a tweet saying kind of like there's a lot of reports about me coming out. A lot of people are saying a lot of stuff, and he doesn't, know if all of them are accurate, whatever that means. I mean, I've read so many things about him, from having a 3-year deal with AEW to getting released by AEW to, EC3 saying no one listened to him, to Brian Pillman Jr. saying that some people listen to him. But in the tweet, he said that he keeps a tight circle. And, I mean, it could be wrong, but, given the age gap and given a lot of other things, I don't know if EC3 and Brian Pillman Jr. are in that Regal circle. But who knows? I do know that William Regal used to be on Rampage a lot, and there was a good Rampage show on Friday. We're going to talk about that. Mox versus Takeshita. They killed it. Found this one very interesting. That Don Callis was there watching along. Also, Takeshita really showed a lot of heart here, maybe even getting more over than Moxley at parts, kind of overshadowing Moxley, even in defeat. Shida and the Bunny fighting for the Regina title, 2 ladies that I am confused at why we don't see more of them on TV. Shida, a former champion, and current Regina, whatever they call this one. Don't say a Regina title. And then Bunny, super hot, but they had a good match here. Both of them. Big Bill was on the card as well. Not W. Morrissey, not Big Cass, but now he's Big Bill. Why not call him Big Bill Morrissey? I don't know, but he cleaned house with Lee Moriarty. I guess, that was cool. The big news of the show, though, Kip Sabian choosing his, partner, or not his partner, just choosing a guy to wrestle Orange Cassidy for the Transatlantic Championship, and he chose Trent Seven, former NXT UK Tag Team Champion. Fun little clusterfucky match here. I don't know if Trent Seven is all elite yet, but we did see him pop up at the ROH Final Battle show. Tony Khan said that he could certainly, be seeing more of him, but I guess he does not have a deal right now. Outside the ring, Hobbs vignettes, really cool. Stokely hinting at maybe having a gripe with Hook. That could be kind of cool, like Hook assembling a team to go against the Firm, maybe even pulling Matt Hardy and Private Party away from the Firm to help him. They got to do something here. I mean, the rumors and story is that the Firm was a team that was assembled like kind of by Punk and MJF to be like MJF's squad to go against Punk, and then all that stuff happened at All Out. So the firm has just been floating around, not knowing what to do. Ethan Page is now fighting Private Party. You got Lee Moriarty fighting Hook, which, don't get me wrong, Private Party, Matt Hardy, Hook, those are some good wrestlers to get tied in with, but it's not CM Punk, it's not the marquee, it's not the world title picture that these guys were supposed to be in. So you got to feel for all these guys in the firm, even though, it's fun to boo them on screen. Someone who's not fun to boo but fun to cheer is Patty Pimbleton. UFC 282, this show had a lot of fighters, but honestly, one star, Patty the Batty, comes out to Afrojack's Yeah Yeah Yeah's remix. The crowd is going crazy. I felt like I was in a European club, and I was just watching from my computer screen. People dancing, wearing the Patty Pimbleton wigs. Don't tell Ariel Helwani, but I feel like this guy is over. Ariel Helwani doesn't pay for interviews like Patty Pimbleton said, but who knows? Whatever. If you don't want to, if you don't want to pay the guy to do an interview, I guess you're not getting interviewed by him, and I guess that's it. I felt bad for Jared Gordon here because, he seemed like a pretty even match for Patty, but this crowd just kind of was having none of it. They wanted to see Patty win, and they did. Round 1, Gordon looked good. Patty lands some kicks, but really started going after each other in the final minutes here. Round 2, both of them come out swinging. Patty brings him down. Gordon bleeding. Patty gets called out for an eye poke. Round 3, let's go Patty chants. Patty jumps on his back, but definitely seems like they were both kind of worn out going into the third round. Judges give it to Patty. Crowd loves it. Patty says he knew he was going to win all along, but others in the fighting world disagree. They say the judges got it wrong, one of which is Nate Diaz. So I don't know if they got swept up by the crowd or UFC is kind of protecting their star here. I don't know. I'm not going to go that route with it. But, I know if I was a judge and I just saw this whole just positive energy for this man, I think I would be swayed a little bit. Like, the other guy would really have to kick the other guy's ass for me not to just give it to Patty the Batty. He's got a cool name. It just feels good to say it into a microphone. Patty the Batty. Rig it if you want to. I watch pro wrestling, so I wouldn't mind. But, UFC does mind. I don't think it was rigged by any means, but I do think that, Patty is, turning heads. Non-fighters are becoming fans, and fighters want to fight him. And as a pro fighter, I feel like that's the best thing you can do in the pro ranks. He's like not even in the top 10 right now, and there's people kind of calling him out. And unlike guys like Jake Paul or Conor McGregor, for whatever reason, if you get mad at Patty the Batty and you're in his weight division, you can fight him. You can make a fight out of this in the UFC. But that wasn't even the main event. Blachowicz and Ankalov, I know I'm butchering these names. I'm sorry about that, guys. Sorry for any fans who may be listening to these guys. But this was a really boring fight. They went all 5 rounds to a draw. This fight was getting a lot of shit online by the media because this is like, the title is vacant, but not even 1 and 2 are fighting. These guys are ranked 3 and 4, so they're really kind of unworthy challengers for each other in the first place. And then the fight was really boring, and then it went to a draw. So what's worse than a shitty fight? A shitty fight with no resolution. The title is still vacant. One guy was saying the other guy won, but he's not a judge, so it really doesn't matter. I don't know why he was blabbering. But this pay-per-view was saved by Patty Pimbleton. He was the star, and he was the reason the fans showed up. I don't care if it was a title match or not. He should have been in the main event because I don't think this main event definitely couldn't follow him. So Patty the Batty was the story of the show, but not the main event on UFC 282. But I feel like the story of the show wasn't the main event in the other 2 shows that we're going to talk about here. NXT, Deadline. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched the the new match, the new concept, the Iron Survivor Challenge match. It was a lot like the old school TNA concept, the King of the Mountain. The only difference is that the wrestlers come out at different time intervals. The King of the Mountain match, every wrestler started out at the same time, and I kind of like that every wrestler started out at the same time. Like John Pollock of Post Pro Wrestling kind of brought it to my attention that one guy or two guys get an extinct advantage. Like 1 and 2 have like 25 minutes to rack up the pinfalls, and 4 and 5 have like 10 to 15 minutes out of the 25 minutes to rack up pinfalls. But as far as like a viewer of the match, I do like a sporadic Royal Rumble style entrances, just because the countdowns, who's coming out, it kind of adds for a more fun experience, even though rationality is out the window. But let's go into the Women's Iron Survivor Challenge match first. Roxanne Perez, former Ring of Honor champion, versus Zoe Starks come out first. And then Kiana James. Didn't know much about her, so I had to look her up. But she had a few AEW Dark appearances under her belt before signing to NXT, so new to the business, but she must have been a real sought-after talent right away, because if you look at her cage match, she wrestled like 1 or 2 indie matches, and then she started appearing on Dark, and then all of a sudden she started making her way to NXT. She has a cheerleading background, which always excites me when I see this about pro wrestlers, because one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, AJ Styles, started out as a cheerleader, so I kind of... I'm thinking she's going to be good, and she was good. Starks pins Roxy, so Roxy goes to the boxy. Cora Jade comes out with Roxy still in the box, and she starts smacking the cage, and she's got like punk rock attire. I thought this girl was like a skater girl, but they said NXT's Mean Girl. So maybe I'm old, but that's too many gimmicks. Like a punk girl and a mean girl. It's like, I don't know, those kind of are conflicting to me. Maybe I don't know a lot about what's going on. Definitely I don't know what's going on with like this, 22 to under girl here. But I feel like that's like kind of conflicting interests. Is she like feuding with herself or something? Indy Hartwell comes out. Gotta love Indy. Kiana with a moonsault, pretty sick. I like the specific time frame in this match. It gave a natural sense of urgency, which a lot of near falls are common tropes in modern pro wrestling that gets the crowd going here. But here there was a rational reason for a lot of pinfalls, because each girl wants to rack up as many pins as possible. So I thought that was cool. Kind of like when Billy Corgan's NWA brought up the 10-minute concept for the television or the light heavyweight title. So it makes sense that the guys would be wrestling faster because there's a sense of urgency with a smaller time limit in the match. That TV title was that concept was brought over to New Japan, so New Japan must have liked that as well, and I liked it here because there's a reason they're working quick. They're not just working quick for the sake of working quick. They're working quick to try to get a pin. So I thought that's a really cool way to bring that into NXT. And then also you understand why bigger guys are like working slower, trying to control the pace, and then you understand why smaller guys are working faster to try to have this time frame to their advantage. Roxanne Perez gets the victory. She's the Iron Survivor. I think that means she wrestles Mandy Rhodes, but I don't know. Like seeing Roxanne Perez, haven't seen much of her since she was in NXT. There wasn't a lot of pins in the women's match, but the men's match made up for that. There's a lot of more pins in the men's matches. JD McDonough and Axiom, former A-Kid in NXT UK, start off. 2 former NXT talents who feuded in NXT are now taking their talents over to Florida. And this match was great. Crazy dive by Axiom right away. Carmelo Hayes comes out, and these 3 guys killed it. I almost didn't want to see anybody else come out after seeing these 3 guys go at it for a while. I mean, JD McDonough was great in NXT UK. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I like both of these guys in NXT UK, so it's cool to see them over here now. And, I mean, Carmelo Hayes, I remember watching Beyond Wrestling during the pandemic and everything, and he was great in that. So, I mean, NXT's doing great. Speaking of great, Waller comes out next. You gotta love Grayson Waller. Gets 2 pins right away. Axiom locks himself into the box to just further fight JD McDonough. Waller calls Booker T a bitch. He says, "Tell me he didn't say that." I hope we get a match between these 2 guys. This would be a great kind of rivalry going into the WrestleMania season. Maybe I can see these two guys being in the Rumble, and then Booker T maybe gets his revenge back, or maybe Waller throws out Booker T, and then we spin that off to a stand and deliver match before WrestleMania or something like that. Gacy's the fifth guy. JD attacks Axiom on the way to the box here, so they're feuding. Where's the 205 Live title when you need it here? Axiom does a moonsault off the box after his time is up. Hayes hits his finisher to Axiom. Waller takes Hayes out and then pins Axiom, so he goes up, and in this weasel-like victory, he's the Iron Survivor here. So I think he gets a match with Braun Breaker. This guy is great here. We've already seen him getting a tease of a call-up like last year, going up against AJ Styles. He gets face reactions as a heel in NXT. It's looking like he's going to fight Booker T in NXT. It's looking like he's going to fight Braun Breaker. But I think that this guy, Grayson Waller, will have a better main roster career than Braun Breaker. Write that down. Jot it down. Repeat it. I said what I said, and I'm sticking to it. But that's all we're going to talk about NXT. We're going to be talking about Ring of Honor Final Battle. 0 Hour was great. It was just as good as the pay-per-view. They had great matches on that show. Love the video package to start things off, the old school Ring of Honor footage right off the top. Quail Man in the audience. This is more evidence shown that people in Texas are dressing up as characters that have nothing to do with wrestling. What's up with that, Texas? We had, All Elite Scooby-Doo, the famous guy that dressed up as Scooby-Doo. That Undertaker gave him a shout out on Cameo. He also appeared at like wrestling conventions in Texas, and then there he was front row at an AEW show in Texas. And then last week we got Santa, we got Jesus, and now we have Quail Man. 2.0 cuts an amazing promo on Top Flight in the middle of this. I like this. Top Flight and 2.0 are guys that, they do get a lot of time in Dynamite and everything, but if you bring them over to Ring of Honor, I think that would be a great way for them to both kind of make even more of a name for themselves here. But that's really all I have to say about the outside the ring stuff here. I did rank every single match from worst to first. I will say I posted a poll up on Twitter. What was the best match the best show of the weekend? UFC 282, NXT Deadline, SmackDown, or ROH Final Battle? And overwhelmingly, ROH Final Battle won. I got all 12 matches ranked here from worst to first. Number 12, just didn't get a lot of time. Willow versus Trish Adora, Lariat Tubman, if you will, in the Indies. Always good to see her. Willow growing on me. She wins with a sick powerbomb. Number 11, The Kingdom versus Top Flight. How will this kingdom fall? Or how far will this kingdom fall, I should say. Last month they were getting title shots and they were debuting on Dynamite and everything, and then all of a sudden you didn't see anything from them. I saw them pop up at WrestleCade, but that was just me going to a wrestling show, and you don't really see a lot of them in AEW. What happened there? Matt Taven won the world title for Ring of Honor in the main event of their only Madison Square Garden card ever. So you would think that his name would have a little bit of cachet to get onto the main card of this pay-per-view. But it didn't. The Kingdom cut off the ring. Darius won't quit. Gets the hot tag to Dante. I'm just going to say it right now, guys. Shawn Michaels of the team. Dante Martin. The Jannetty of the team is Darius, even though he's the older brother. Even though Dante slipped on the springboard to the outside attempt like he did on Dynamite, I still say that Dante is the star of this team. Maria gets kicked to the back. Top Flight gets the dives, and they win. So the Kingdom is great. Everyone loves them that used to watch Ring of Honor back in the day. But they get no love here. Number 10, the Jericho Appreciation Society 2.0 versus Cheeseburger and Eli Isom. Isom was a guy who was in the dying days of Ring of Honor, was seemingly getting a push here, but then when Tony Khan bought him out, it doesn't really seem like he is doing much of anything. 2.0, always great industry vets here getting the win. 1, 2, 3. Not much to say about the match. Number 9, the women's world title match, Athena versus Mercedes Martinez. I love how snug Athena works, but her tights and ring gear just throw me off. I mean, nothing is more goofy than like that eyeball that was glued to her forehead. Like, come on, you're gonna be like kicking a girl as hard as possible, doing all these cool moves, and you make yourself look like a borderline cartoon character. I'm not a fan of it. But I loved how, do yourself up, though. It is wrestling. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe she was some character that I don't understand. But I love how they told a story here. These ladies were in Shimmer together, and, of course, in WWE around the same time. And Athena gets the victory, 1, 2, 3, new champion. Number 8, Rouge and Dorlistico versus AR Fox and Blake Christian. This match would have been ranked a lot higher if they didn't fuck up the finish here. Dorlistico, former Mystico, former Sin Cara in WWE. What a legend. Crowd chanting all heart for Blake Christian. Christian is in trouble after the brawl to the outside. Tags in AR Fox. He just goes nuts here, just diving on everybody. You can tell he's waited his whole career to be wrestling in these arenas. And once he's in these arenas, he ain't letting go. I interviewed him one time. I even shared a blunt with this man outside of a Firestar Pro Wrestling show. I guess I'm incriminating myself there, but I'm going out and said it. And then he went in the ring and he killed it. He was in the main event that night, and the undercard featured New Jack versus White Mike. So after, partaking with him, I go inside and I see New Jack wrestle White Mike, and one of my favorite live wrestling experiences ever. So I have a special place in my heart for AR Fox, and he's diving all over the place. Even if I didn't share that experience with AR Fox, I would think that he is a good wrestler. Dorlistico hitting a springboard shooting star to the outside. This was sick. Blake Christian jumps on the ref to break up a pin. 450 to Dorlistico by AR Fox. 1, 2, what the fuck, 3. Ref says it's a 3. It looked like the wrestlers were trying to even get set up for something else here, but the crowd was shocked. The wrestlers were shocked. Impromptu chair shots all around because Los Ingobernables got to get their heat back. I bet that felt odd to get hit with a chair, and you kind of, I bet it feels odd to always get hit with the chair, but I think under these circumstances, especially bizarre, but they're all professionals here. Los Ingobernables can get their heat back another day. You live to wrestle another day, even though it did kind of feel like that was your day. Number 7 out of 12, Juice versus Joe. This match had the quote-unquote diva spot right before the main event. Usually after the best match on the card is where, WWE, like from 2002 to like 2016, would put the Divas match. More or less a bathroom break right there in the show before, the Women's Revolution came, where you saw Paige and AJ Lee, and then you saw the 4 horsewomen of WWE, Sasha, Bayley, Becky, and Charlotte, all kind of come up and kind of change how the WWE is structured, their pay-per-views now, women have headlined WrestleMania and everything like that. But so this match had a lot to live up to because it was right after that great dog collar match, and I don't think they lived up to it. The crowd was still thinking about the dog collar match. I was still thinking about the dog collar match. I love Joe, love Juice, but they had a lot to overcome, and I don't think they overcame it. Joe got the victory here. Number 6 was actually the curtain jerker of this whole show on 0 Hour. Jeff Cobb versus Mercedes. Mascarita Sagrada. This was a great match. Kind of dumb to start this show with this match. I mean, you have a current New Japan star in Jeff Cobb. You have a former WWE star and, indie and lucha cred for days. Mascarita Sagrada. This should have been announced earlier, and it should have been on the pay-per-view. Cobb catches him one-handed, catches him on the floor, slams his ass on the apron, big corkscrew senton to Cobb, springboard senton 1-2. No, they may have lost what they were doing here for a bit, but then a deadlift, Tour of the Islands, 1, 2, 3, Jeff Cobb gets the victory. Cool match. Fun match. Another fun match was number 5, the 6-man titles. I have to say I was cheering for the Embassy here over Dalton Castle and the boys because Dalton Castle and the boys don't wear the titles to the ring during AEW shows. So if you don't respect the titles, I can't respect you as champions. Pisses me off, man. This was a fun match, though. This was kind of like Kai and Tai and the Oddities. 1998 SummerSlam, big guy versus little guy stuff, people getting thrown around, people running all over the place, people getting tossed, people getting caught, people getting choke slammed, all kinds of cool shit here. I love when Brian Cage catches people in the suplex position already. That's just cool shit every time. And then his team does get the win. The Embassy are the new Ring of Honor 6-man champions, which is, I said it in a company with AEW and Ring of Honor with like 20 titles. The ROH 6-man titles are the lowest on the totem pole because Dalton Castle and the boys didn't wear it to ringside. So hopefully these guys can shine them up and maybe move up the ranks as champions and kind of bring the titles up with them here, because I think these are the lowest titles out of all the titles you could have in this company. Swerve in Our Glory versus Shane Taylor Promotions. This match had a great story and delivered in ring. Really cool to see. Didn't know much about JD Griffin before the match, but he kind of is like a Nate Diaz kind of thing here a little bit. Lee catches Taylor in midair. This was crazy to see. I mean, you can catch a luchador for days, but catching someone big like Shane Taylor, that means something. And then he does a moonsault. Swerve walks away. Lee still gets the victory. So leaving this match, I'm thinking this is Keith Lee's big singles push here. He's going to, beat Swerve, and then I feel like he's going to, maybe take on MJF would be a good match. Maybe take on Moxley would be a good match. I mean, he's got something that not a lot of people have, even in the world title picture, with that size and speed. And I think AEW can make a big star out of him. Remember, during the pandemic, he was beating Randy Orton in the Thunderdome. And ever since then, he got fired from the WWE. He went over to AEW and won the tag titles, which is cool. But the trajectory from him from 2019 to 2020 to 2021 to 2022, it's not a good trajectory, man. We got to bring him back up because he's a star, man. People will get behind this guy. But number 3 is the world title match, Chris Jericho versus Claudio Castagnoli. This match was good, but honestly, I felt like there was a lot of filler on the show and not a lot of killer. I don't really know where I would put this match. I would put it, maybe it's like, the beginning of the killer. This match was good. Claudio keeps fighting even though Jericho controlling the pace. Deadlift by 2 Jericho, turns it, and then Jericho turns it into a Hurricane Rana. That was kind of sick. Fight on the apron. Jericho suplexes him to the floor. Walls of Jericho. Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Luke run out. Cheat for Jericho. To no avail. Claudio kicks out. And then their asses gets into the back. A lot of 2.0 on the show, and I'm not complaining. Claudio catches him in a swing. And then he just keeps swinging. The crowd's counting. They're not counting every rotation. They're at like 30 or 40 when he was really kind of at 20. But who cares? Because when they counted 8, instead of saying 8, they said ocho, which was, great impromptu chanting Texas. Jericho taps out to the swing. So no one's ever tapped out to the swing. I don't know. Maybe they didn't know they could do that. But Jericho does it. And now we have a new 2-time Ring of Honor champion, Claudio Castagnoli. I feel like this was kind of a 2-match show, though. I really have to say that. The Pure title and the Dog Collar match. The Pure title is number 2. This match was awesome. After this match, I was thinking that the Dog Collar match was just like the main event. I was thinking that the Dog Collar match had their work cut out for them. Both these guys get their closed fist warning super early. Garcia tactically gets Wheeler to use his 3 rope breaks. Great strategy here. Just wish he wasn't such a dick about it. I could probably cheer for him a little longer. Yuta counters the Dragon Tamer into a crossface. Brain Buster to break free both men down. Yuta just laying some clobbering blows over and over and over and over again to Garcia. And then we got a new Pure champion, Wheeler fucking Yuta. Great match. But I got to go into it, guys. I don't know about match of the year for me, but if someone told me that this was their match of the year, I would believe it. It's definitely in my top 5. I would say it's the second best match out of the trilogy that these two teams had this year. I would say that The match they had over WrestleMania weekend, their first match in the trilogy, was personally my favorite and my match of the year. I've heard people say that this was the third best match on the trilogy. I think it's the second, as I just said. I've heard people say it's the best match on the trilogy, and this is their match of the year. So, I mean, I think with all that being said, I think we all know what feud of the year is, and it's going to the Briscoes versus FTR. I mean, per capita entertainment, this feud is the best. All the promos were good. All the matches were good. And it was just cut and dry, just amazing wrestling. Mark bleeds right away, super early. Dax and Jay in the crowd. Mark dives off the stage. Brody and Cody, when they did their dog collar match in AEW, their chain was getting all tied up in the rope, all tied up in the railing, and it kind of took away from the match a lot. But these guys were doing a lot more technical stuff, a lot of stuff off the top, a lot of tag team spots here, and they weren't getting tied up at all. Dueling chants. Jay's bleeding. Doomsday with the chain. 1-2. Mark Briscoe kicks out. Froggy Bo with the chain. Dax is bleeding. Cash is covered in blood. I don't know whose blood it is, his or someone else's. Headbutt with the chain. Dax is rapping. It was more of a spot that you saw in your head than looked good in real life. It took him a little while to get it done, but you saw what he was doing, and it was still cool. Ref take a bump. Ref is bleeding. They got two refs in these dog collar match. Cash pulls Mark to the top turnbuckle and just kind of pulls him off. So he goes from the top turnbuckle to the floor onto a bunch of chairs. 1-2. Dax kicks out of something in the ring. I don't even know. I wrote that down. Jay can't believe it. Superplex onto a bunch of chairs from Dax to Jay Briscoe. Mark is holding Cash back while Jay is trying to get the pin. 1-2. Dax kicks out. Crossface with the chain to Dax. Jay is applying it. Dax taps out. Briscoes win. Briscoes are the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions for the 13th time. They didn't go to the media scrum, probably because they were way too excited. But goddamn, this is awesome. You gotta love it. I mean, Wheeler Yuta, pure champion. You can buy it for days. Dog collar tag team champions, whatever you want to call them. Briscoes, Ring of Honor champions. Of course, it only feels right. Like if you just randomly ask me who the Ring of Honor tag champions were, I would just say the Briscoes. And I got a 50-50 shot throughout the history of time to be correct. I do feel like there's one too many titles, guys. I feel like Joe, with the TV title, we know about that classic reign he had with the world title in 2002 to 2004 with the Ring of Honor title. And we know it's taken Claudio his whole career to get to a world title. How fitting it would be the Ring of Honor title, because he started his career there in America in that company as well. But I think there's a collision course, guys. I want to see Joe versus Claudio, merging the two belts together, because the pure title kind of has its own identity. The Ring of Honor tag team title has its own identity. The six-man has its own identity. Of course, the women's has its own identity, but I feel like the TV and the world, I don't really know the difference. If you said you were the Ring of Honor TV title holder or the Ring of Honor world title holder in the landscape of wrestling today, I don't know the difference. So we got to bring those two titles together. And I do think that Claudio and Joe would have some fucking classic matches. They also said Ring of Honor is going to be on Honor Club. So all that, who owns it? Sinclair going to Tony Khan. Tony Khan's going to make it something awesome. You have a lot of Ring of Honor titles in AEW, kind of diluting everything, because you're trying to get ROH to have a TV deal, and then you just put it on Honor Club just like it's always been. Why didn't you just do that in the first place? But I guess he was just shopping it around to see. I mean, shit, slap battles on TV. Why can't Ring of Honor be on TV? But, I mean, I guess every night is filled with wrestling. You look at Monday night, you got Raw. You look at Tuesday night, you got NXT. You look at Wednesday night, you got AEW. You look at Thursday night, you got Impact. You look at Friday night, you got SmackDown and AEW. And then Saturday and Sunday is full of pay-per-views and premium live events. So every match, every day of the week is full. And you also know that there's a giant company called New Japan that doesn't even have a day on American television, kinda, that people watch as well. So if you're a company and you're investing, you're like, well, when will we put this on TV? And you look at the current landscape, you're going to go, we're not putting this shit on TV. So put it back on Honor Club again. You got the tape library over there. Hey, you can make it work. You can do, Dark goes into Dynamite, and then you have Ring of Honor going into Rampage, and then you got 2 shows a week touring the country. You can make this work, Tony Khan, just like I made this show work, and just like you guys are making whatever you guys are doing work. Thanks for listening. Tell a friend, tell a foe. As always, fly high. I'm out.